back to Alice Talks Football, and we are now live for a Manchester United news, transfer news and update show, because here we go, it's come out of nowhere for Ayden Heaven, new centre-back to join Manchester United. I'm not going to act like I know loads about this guy and watch loads of him play, but from the research I've done, from speaking to Arsenal fans and what I've seen, this guy looks like a baller. He's playing out from the back, honestly, his movement, he don't look like a natural centre-back with his dribbling, his ball-carrying abilities. And we're going to talk about the new signing, how we'll fit in Amorim's system. And one thing I do know is he's one of the highest-rated talents at Arsenal. Nwaneri, Dalman, Heaven, among three, with Skelly, among four of the highest-rated talents at Arsenal. We obviously took Obi Martin off their hands. So another good deal for Manchester United. But there's a lot to talk about in today's news show. There's news coming out in regards to Hojlund. Teammates like basically saying they don't rate Hojlund and some stuff about that I want to talk about because I think it's an absolute joke. It's come from Samuel Lecce, so that story doesn't surprise me one bit. Dorgu, apparently bid's going to be accepted today. United are going to make a 31 million bid that's set to be accepted today, says Matteo Moretta. Romano also confirms new bid coming in. There's an expectation the Dorgu deal will be done. What is the latest on Alvaro? Laurie Whitwell gives an update on that. Huijsen release clause. Could Manchester United be going for Huijsen? Euro, Huijsen, Heaven, Gokonki. Could Manchester United be building a centre-back army for the future? Garnacho, Mano, the PSR, the sales update. Some thought that Man United could sell Toby Collier to cash in on PSR as well. Casemiro to Roma is the latest news going about. Roma ready to make a move. And then Laurie Whitwell gives us the truth about the Anthony signing, which is an absolute joke. But let's dive into the news. Let's dive into the stories. Let's dive into everything we need to talk about in today's show. I apologize I didn't go live yesterday, but I was exhausted. I had so much work to do for things outside of YouTube. I literally was just like knackered. But we're going to dive into the news. Breaking: Ayden Heaven to Manchester United. Here we go. His medical is booked after rejecting a new deal from Arsenal and approaches from Eintracht Frankfurt. Now, if you're not aware of this, I did a video on Ayden Heaven last week and I spoke about Manchester United reportedly in the race with Frankfurt to get the signing done for Ayden Heaven. Fabrizio Romano has come out and said the deal is here we go. He's going to go to United for his medical. There'll probably be a small fee. Now, obviously, I don't think many of us are going to be experts on Ayden Heaven. We can tell he's a highly rated Arsenal Academy player, and you can tell he's good on the ball. He's good at carrying out from the back, can play centre-back, can play left-back, can play DM. But he looks like an exciting player, and I don't know if you've seen the clips of him just getting the ball and dribbling up the pitch. I can tell you this from watching clips of him, that he's a great ball carrier. Just from the clips I've seen of him. Unbelievable ball carrier for a centre-back. Physically, very, very top for his age. And I think what we've noticed with Gokonki, Obi Martin and now Heaven is United are going for some of the most physically developed players in football. And I think Amadou Onana, those sort of tall physical players, pace and power, is becoming a new meta in football where people are trying to pick them up. But I'm going to share a little bit on Ayden Heaven actually for you guys. I'm going to show you what Rising Gems have said. So shout out to them. Go give them a follow. They said 18 English, centre-back, left-back, DM, strength, pace, passing, composure, physicality, technique, ball control, positioning, anticipation, versatility. They've compared him to Levi Colwill. He's played left centre-back for Arsenal when he's actually done pre-season and stuff. They said what's really impressed me about Ayden Heaven is his incredible composure on the ball, even when he's under immense pressure. That is his biggest strength alongside obvious technical ability. He's a world-class talent in the making is one of the explanations we've got on him. One of the highest rated players with Dalman in that Arsenal Academy. And look, again, I'm not going to act like I'm an expert on this guy, but the clips, he looks insane. But the thing is, I feel like you can make any player look insane with clips. I feel like you could get an Anthony cameo of clips and highlight reels and make it look good. So you always have to take it with a pinch of salt. But he's seen as, potentially cover for Lisandro Martinez. Academy Scoop, who obviously do the academy stuff when it comes to United, said this on the signing of Ayden Heaven. Exclusive, they said Manchester United have reached a full agreement to sign Arsenal defender Ayden Heaven, beating Barcelona and Eintracht Frankfurt to the 18-year-old signature. Heaven is considered to be a first-team signing and will provide competition/cover for Lisandro Martinez. And I think when you've got to compete with Gabriel Calafiori and Lewis Skelly at Arsenal and Lisandro Martinez at United in a back three system where there's more room to open up, I do think this is a more a good move. I think a good move for Heaven. Some Arsenal fans might not understand it. We're crap. They're good at the moment. I mean, we win trophies though, but he's clearly a player that wants the more opportunities in the first team. And with Obi Martin and with Heaven, probably because we're pretty crap, some of the first team players, the opportunities can be there. And again, look, some people saying Man United are going to bring him in just to sell him in the future. They may do that, but that's what every single club does. It's an exciting player. It's not someone that's going to come in and play now, but with him, with Sekou Kone, with Obi Martin, it's exciting. What Man United have done really well over the last few years is buy some of the top players from other academies. We got Toby Collier from Brighton's academy. We got Harry Amash from Watford's academy. We got Garnacho from Atleti's academy. We got Willy Camboila from that French team. I forgot the name's academy. We've got loads of top players at 16, 15, 17 even years of age from other academies. And that's something we need to do, because even if they don't make it United, you can sell them on. Alvaro, who we only sold on for about 7 million quid, we still made profit on him. I don't know why we only 7 million quid on him. Absolute joke. But we still made some level of profit on him as well. But yeah, he's now seen as potentially the new backup left centre back as well. But what's been said of him is that he's someone that's known to be a very good wide centre back. Now, if I look at Manchester United, Euro's best position is central centre back. Maguire's best position is central centre back. And De Ligt, if he's not going up against a pacey winger, is probably right centre back. Or maybe central centre back. Euro's a central centre back. He plays at right centre back as a central centre back. Mazraoui's best position is right centre back. Man United lack wide centre backs. We have a lot of central ones because obviously we recruited for a back four. And from what's sort of been said about him, he does look like someone that'd be very comfortable in the wide channels with his carrying, being a natural wide centre back. Now, I'm not saying he's going to play. I think you're going to see him in pre-season, but he's seen as the backup option. Kokonki's getting on the bench. This guy's 2 years older than Kokonki, a little bit ahead of him in development, and that could be sort of the guy that potentially pushes Lisandro Martinez. But looks like an exciting talent as well, and apparently he is there to provide cover for Martinez. Obi Martin and Heaven have, sort of been pulled away from Arsenal to Manchester United because they've sort of been told, well, look, the opportunity could be there for you. You will be the third choice as well. Could we go late for Cherki? I don't think so. Lecce, basically done deal. Yeah, Dorgu's basically a done deal. We're going to talk about that in a second, and clips can be very perceptive. We'll have to watch full matches. 100%. 100% as well. From what I've seen, he looks exciting. From what Arsenal fans have said about him in the past, he looks exciting. But, I don't sit and watch Arsenal Academy matches. Man United only really played the Premier League North as well, so I only really know a bit about the academy teams that United regularly play, like Manchester City. I couldn't tell you loads about Arsenal. I know Dalman's another good talent there. I keep an eye on a bit of academy football here and there. I watch the odd game here and there, but I don't have time to watch it all. But it's an exciting talent. But I want to get into some more news. I want to get into some more stories, because while we've got the here we go for a new centre-back signing, there is still quite a bit of news and information to talk about. There's the Hojlund situation, there's Huijsen, there's Garnacho, there's Casemiro leaving. So we're going to dive into this next story. So this came from Samuel Luckhurst, and of course it came from Samuel Luckhurst. Samuel Luckhurst is someone that has and gets information from the club. Samuel Luckhurst has and gets information from the club. He has sources in the club, la-di-la. Samuel Luckhurst often is someone that puts out leaks and dressing room source said this and dressing room source said that story, which can fuel, I think, a little bit of a toxicity online, is the way I would describe it. I think with Luckhurst, he's very clever in the way of he'll find out a story about Hojlund, and then 3 months' time, when Hojlund's in his worst period at United, he'll release that story. So he is saying there's some players in the United squad that don't think Hojlund is good enough, is what has been said by Samuel Luckhurst. But I think Samuel Luckhurst is putting this out now because of what happened to Hojlund's last game. Pretty bad. But Samuel Luckhurst has been saying this since May 2024 and December 2023. In May 2024, Samuel Luckhurst said this: a number of Manchester United players remain unconvinced by Rasmus Hojlund and are reluctant to pass the ball to him. In December 2023, he said this: some time-served Manchester United players are startled by the calibre of Erik ten Hag's signings. One is believed to be particularly perplexed by the addition of Rasmus Hojlund. If you want my honest opinion on the Rasmus Hojlund news, I don't think this is new information. I think Luckhurst has seen Hojlund's had a few bad games. If he writes a negative story on Hojlund, it's going to get more clicks. And because Luckhurst put this out in May 2024 and December 2023, I think this is probably the same information he got a year ago, but he's probably putting it out now because of the form that Hojlund's in. Because when Samuel Lutkes put out this story last year, he got pelters. People are saying, why are you putting out this story? Why are you spreading negativity? People were giving Samuel Lutkes pelters online. Now Rasmus Hojlund, because Rasmus Hojlund last year, he was a lot better than he was this year. He was showing potential. He was showing a glimpse. People were willing to be patient. I think this season, because it's the second season, the frustrations are going with Rasmus Hojlund. So I don't think this is new news, if I was going to be honest. I don't think this is new news. But he's scored 2 goals since the start of the season in the Premier League. It's not been a good period for Hojlund. And I think it's probably these stories that Lutkes put out last year, maybe just resurfacing right now. He also mentioned about Amram being frustrated about transfer activity in the window. We will dive into that in a second, but I want to talk about the Rasmus Hojlund news. I want to talk about the Rasmus Hojlund stories. Now, again, as I said, I think it's old news, and I think it's and I spoke to a journalist in the Man United space, a very credible journalist in the Man United space, and he says a lot of the dressing room leaks that come out and stories that come out about Man United, he'll be told in August. And then all of a sudden, let's say December, Man United go on a bad run of form, the stories get briefed in December. And that's the thing. So there was a lot of stories in August about Erik ten Hag, a lot of stories in July and August about Erik ten Hag, issues with the players, things going on in the dressing room that a lot of credible journalists had. But they knew that this was pre-season, everyone was optimistic about the season ahead. Those stories didn't come out. When things got really bad in November time, December time around Ten Hag, all of a sudden the stories that these journalists had been told in the summer, they all started to release in November, December, because everyone was getting frustrated. People were starting to turn on Ten Hag. We were playing quite badly. That's what happened with the situation. And I think that's one thing you've always got to remember. Every time there's a dressing room leak or story coming out of the player, that journalist may have been told that story 6 months ago. But the journalists are clever in the sense of they'll release it when they think that story will have an impact. If there's negative stories about Man United, they're not going to release it if we've won 10 games in a row, because they'll get a stick for it. But if United drop off and go in a negative period, they'll release the story. And that's why the journalists thrive in terms of Man United negativity. And I got told that by someone credible in there who doesn't do that stuff. He only puts out information that he thinks is relevant. He doesn't do that. But he's saying that these stories that this journalist put out and that journalist put out in November or December of last year, they knew in August and July. But they waited until it got toxic. People started to turn on Ten Hag. And I think, again, that's probably the situation with Hojlund there. But Alex said he'd loan Hojlund to a PL club, if anything, to get an established line. I'd loan Hojlund, still a player there. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm not going to write off Rasmus Hojlund. We overpaid for Rasmus Hojlund, and he was always meant to be a second centre striker. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have spent that money on Anthony and Casemiro, and we'd had the money to bring Harry Kane, and then Rasmus Hojlund would be the striker to learn from Kane. And Rasmus Hojlund was £40 million. When United come in, Atlanta get £64 million with 72 million add-ons. If Manchester City went in, they'd have got Hojlund for £40 million, going to maybe £50 million in add-ons. We know that. What Man United should have done is signed Hojlund for £40 million. As backup to Harry Kane. That's what they should have done. But they didn't do that. And do you know what's mad? Hojlund was third choice striker at Atalanta. He'd only scored 9 goals and we still got 72 million for him because the people at this club are idiots. And I think it's taken out on Hojlund. Striker, 72 million. What is this? He was a 40 million backup striker that was going to learn from Harry Kane. That's what he was meant to be. And because the board screwed up and because the board spent 72 million on him, we're going to expect so much more and the standards for him are going to be so much higher. Of course, it's Manchester United. For me, Hojlund's a confidence player. He's a confidence player. Maybe he needs a loan. He needs someone to get his goals and his confidence in. Rasmus Hojlund can still be a good player. If you're writing off a striker at 21 years of age in a very unstable environment with very little service, you're crazy. He can still be a good striker. But right now, he's not offering enough. Xerxes isn't scoring goals, but his hold-up plays good, his link-up plays good, and we look better in the final third with Xerxes on the pitch. Hojlund's touch is so bad, he keeps losing the ball. He's struggling. Hojlund can become a good centre-back. I think Hojlund will become a good centre-back. But Manchester United, not centre-back. Why am I saying centre-back? Why am I saying... Striker. Hojlund can become a good striker. I'm confident of that. Why am I saying centre-back? Idiot. But he probably either needs to find a way to be played back into form between now and the end of the season, or United may have to look at loans or something. Because I don't want to write the guy off, but where I'm frustrated with Hojlund is the lack of progress. Last season, I was very happy with Hojlund's first season. People gave him a bit of stick, but I was very happy with Hojlund's first season. Because we signed off the back of a 9-goal season at 20 years of age. But he got 16 goals last season. 16 goals for Manchester United last season in the graveyard shift with no service in what was our worst ever Premier League season. Okay, and he got 16 goals there as a young kid, thrown into a new league, playing with an injury, No service. He managed to get 16 goals. We saw in the Champions League what we could do. We saw in that little purple batch run what he could do. He came off the bench the last couple of Premier League games of the season and showed what he could do. There was something there to believe, okay, this guy's not ready-made now, he's raw, but there's something in this player and he's going to be good. The problem with Hojlund is this season he's regressed. His touch isn't good, his hold-up play isn't good, his link-up play isn't good, his confidence comes down to it, the system, learning it, not getting the ball, the graveyard shift massively has an impact. Hojlund, if you play the ball to him in the channels and he can run with the ball in front of him, he's good. Hojlund, the goal he scored versus Arsenal in pre-season before he got injured was good. Hojlund with the ball in front of him in the channels, running at players, he is lethal. And if you can play football that allows you to do that more, you'll see a better Rasmus Hojlund. But because we don't have the wing-backs and the centre-backs and the midfielders for Amran's system to feed Hojlund in that sense, it's not going to help him. I think when the squad is fully developed and we have the centre-backs and we have the fullbacks and we have the midfielders and we play away and we're playing Hojlund through the channels, we could see a really good Hojlund. And that's what Amran will eventually look to do with a bit of development. But Hojlund hasn't been good enough now, and United will have to look at signing a striker. You cannot write a guy off that young, and there's elements of his game that he is good at. He's clinical, he's good with the ball in front of him, running down the channels, but he's not good at the hold-up. He's not good at the link-up play, which is why Xerxes for now starts over Rasmus Hojlund as well. He's also rapid, playing with his back to goal doesn't suit him. You know, all this wrestling that we take the mick out of him for, we're not playing him to his strengths. His wrestling's frustrating, his movement's frustrating, but we're not playing him to his strengths. So I think it's one of those where you just got to be a bit patient with it, even though we spent a lot of money on him, but he's just not ready to lead the lines. And most 21-year-olds aren't. And I think because he's at United, there's that added pressure. I think because we spent 72 million and because he's at United, there's that added pressure. And it's a shame that we might have to loan him out or he's going to be the second choice for the money we spent. But that's not on Hojlund. That's on the idiots at the club that spent that kind of money. But we need an experienced striker in the summer. And that Hojlund could potentially learn from. Because maybe the players don't rate him. Maybe they are reluctant to pass in the ball because he does make quite a lot of good runs and no one gives him the ball. I would give Hojlund that. But look, confidence is a big thing. Amran's got to work with him. I wouldn't write him off just yet because he's still young, but we need that help. Anyway, let's talk about Patrick Dorgu because the deal for Patrick Dorgu to Manchester United is expected to happen. Manchester United's next bid for Patrick Dorgu will come in the next 24 to 48 hours. Positive talks were held with Lecce today, but there's still work to be done and add-ons are crucial, said Fabrizio Romano. So the next bid for United and Dorgu could come today. Today could be the day that Dorgu to Manchester United is done. And I think looking at the fullbacks in the last few games and the lack of progression, yeah, I think we sort of need Dorgu coming into United. I can't lie. I don't want to overpay for him, but watching us play, you can see how badly this team needs a left wing back. I think anyone can. Now, Matteo Moretti said this: Manchester United's next offer for Patrick Dorgu will be £30 to £31 million, which include bonuses, and Lecce were ready to say yes, but today will be important. So Matteo Moretti is essentially saying when Man United put in their next offer of 30 to 31 million, which will include add-ons, so it's not straight up. I would say 30 million including add-ons is the most I'd go. Lecce are ready to say yes for that. So the reports and news coming in regards to Patrick Dorgu is there's an expectation a deal will be done today or tomorrow when Man United put in their next bid because they're willing to essentially to accept the next bid. So if Lecce are willing to accept our next bid, the Patrick Dorgu deal should be done. If you don't know, Patrick Dorgu has agreed personal terms with Manchester United. He's pushing for the move, which will be exciting as well. Alice, do you think we'll sign anyone other than Dorgu? It depends on Rashford. I think we could go from Kuku or Felix on loan if Marcus Rashford leaves. If Garnacho is permanent, if Rashford leaves, we'll look for someone on loan. That's what I think as well. The latest on Casemiro is Saudi are there, Roma's there, MLS are there. We're going to talk about Casemiro in a second for those asking about him in the chat. But yeah, I think Dorgu, there's an expectation the deal could be done today. They're set to accept a bid, which will be interesting as well. We massively need a left wing back. We massively need a left wing back. The difference a left wing back will make, just having Masraoui back at right centre back, having one wing back that looks to go forward should help us. Look, Dorgu's raw. He's not going to come in and be, I don't think he's going to come in and change us like Bruno Fernandes did when we signed Bruno Fernandes. But he's definitely going to improve us in terms of the system. But he's not as good as a Kirkes or a Nuno Mendes, I'll tell you that. If we sell Garnacho, we'll probably get that Dorgu's kid and the rest of the money goes in the Glazer's pocket, which is exactly why selling Garnacho would be silly. Unless it's going on Cunha, it'd be silly. I'd rather Alvaro, he's a bit developed. I think Alvaro is more developed. The only thing is I think long-term, Dorgu profile-wise could be a better fit for the system. We're going to talk about Alvaro in a second, but we've got a few other news stories coming out. Positive talks between Manchester United and Lecce over Patrick Dorgu continue today. There's a growing belief a deal can be struck. The fee under discussion is in the region of £30 million. United are prepared to walk away if the overall package is not right, but there is a willingness to get it done, said Sky Sports chef. So Man United would walk away if they asked for too much, but there's a willingness to get it done. We're set to put in a second bid today of about 30 million, and Lecce are willing to accept that bid. I think the feeling is that Dorgu will be done. Just in regards to other signings, it's massively going to depend on Rashford as well. Where would you loan Hojlund to? What would be the best move for him? A team that likes, to be honest, West Ham. Send him to West Ham. They need a striker. Arsenal looking at John Duran, apparently, yeah. John Duran is all of a sudden an £85 million player. And this is what annoys me. Okay, and I know we're going off topic because I do want to talk about Alvaro Fernandez. I do want to talk about Casemiro. John Duran, Villa were willing to sell him for 40 million in the summer. He has a purple patch. He looks good. He starts scoring a few goals. He's £85 million. Okay? Let's be honest. Look at Rasmus Hojlund. Rasmus Hojlund had a purple patch. Yeah? Would he have been an £80 million player? No. Now, I'm not saying John Duran's better than Hojlund. But what I'm saying is, John Duran, good young player. Barely plays for Villa last season. This season starts playing, has a purple patch, looks good. Watkins is still first choice. Now he's an £85 million player. That's what Villa do. We couldn't get, John Duran for me is a £50 million striker. But Villa will ask for 85 million. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can't do that. If we ask for, we're begging for 60 million for Garnacho, but they want 85 million for Duran. Dibbling's 55 million. This is where United have got to be careful, because if you look at how rivals value their players, John Duran gets a purple patch and is now an 85 million pound player. Imagine if we wanted to sell Rasmus Hojlund just off his purple patch in January. Would his price go up massively? I don't know. I think there's a thing with Man United players where people just know they can get them on the cheap, but we need to be more like Villa. I'm not saying that Hojlund's an £85 million player. He never will be. Well, he might be in the future, but I just don't like the fact that John Duran is now £85 million. Do you know what I mean? Duran is a level above Rasmus, but Duran's just had a purple patch. Like, this time last year, Duran wasn't even 25 million. Yeah. And if you look at John Duran, there was teams in for him in the summer, and they were willing to sell for less than £40 million. Yeah, I think it's crazy what a purple patch in the Premier League can do. It's absolutely crazy, because we wouldn't get 85 million for Ahmad. Every season we drag out a player. Rasmus turns this season. Who will be next? And I agree. Rashford last season. Maguire, I think, was the season before. Was it Ronaldo? No, De Gea. De Gea in Ten Hag's first season. Rashford in Ten Hag's second season. This season it's Hojlund. Every year there's a player that gets dragged out. Under Rolly, it was Fred and Maguire. Ronaldo got a bit of stick. And then we replace said player and we're still crap. And I think you've got to realise it's more than one player. Hojlund needs to improve, 100%. But there's a player in Hojlund, he can still become a top player. He needs to improve, he needs confidence, and we need a striker, 100%. But, to write off Rasmus Hojlund completely would be crazy at his age. And to think that he is the problem and he's the guy that's holding us back would be absolutely crazy, because we've seen it, replace one player for another player, and we just don't go up levels, because at the end of the day, Hojlund needs to do better, but he's in the graveyard shift. Duran won't be sold at that price. Duran's a £50 million player for me. He's literally got the aura. If Duran was playing for Man United and he put in the exact same performances he put in for Villa for Manchester United, he's a £50-60 million player. But because he does it for Villa, he's £85 million. Because when he has a bad game, no one notices it because he plays for Villa. If Duran came to United and had a bad game, it's all over the media. If Duran is at Villa and has the old bad game, they don't speak about it. Do you know what I mean? Duran at Man United, 60 million, at Villa, 85 million for the same performances. There's that thing. I like Duran, top player. But for 85 million for Duran, 55 million for Dibbling, 70 million for Mateus Cunha, and we're being told by Chelsea that Garnacho is not worth more than 50 million, jog on. Jog on. Do you know what I mean? I don't we are being mugged off by all the teams around us who are listing their players for ridiculously high prices and telling us Garnacho, the player aged under 21 with the most goal contributions in Europe, isn't worth £50 million when he's on good wages. But Duran's 85 million now. Tyler Dibbling's 55 million now. Cunha's 70 million now. Semenyo's being quoted at 70 million. It's like, seriously, just because Man United are bad and our players are in bad form, yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, look, Duran is better than Hojlund. I'm not denying that. Duran is better than, oh, fuck's sake, hit my elbow. He's better than Hojlund. But I'm just saying there's definitely You know Hojlund's purple patch where he scored 8 goals in a row last year? It makes such a difference in people's perceptions, the recency bias. But let's talk about Dorgu. Let's talk about Ruben Amorim. Patrick Dorgu is Ruben Amorim's favourite target for left wing back, and he's pushing hard for Manchester United to sign him. However, if the deal falls through, United are seriously considering activating Alvaro Fernandez's buyback clause from Benfica. Sources close to Alvaro Fernandez currently say there's not a move in the window. So Laurie Whitwell's a very good source of information, very good journalist. He's saying, United like Alvaro. He's under consideration. The buyback clause is there. If a deal falls through for Dorgu, we might do that. But he doesn't know if Alvaro wants to come back to United, particularly in this window when we're in a mess. Maybe in the summer, but right now. Now, Dorgu is Amorim's preferred choice. Dorgu's the one that will be a long-term benefit for the system. If Dorgu's over a certain price, we do have to walk away. We do have to look at other options. We can't be mugged off. Alvaro is an option there, but we don't know if Alvaro wants to come, particularly in the January window. Maybe he'll say I'm open in the summer, but I don't think Alvaro is willing to jump back to Manchester United like people think. Ten Hag didn't treat him well. Ten Hag told him to go and that he wasn't going to play. I know Ten Hag is gone, and you've got to look at it like that. Alvaro's technical improved tremendously on the defensive side, exactly. And he can play in the 5-back system. We saw that for Preston North End. I think I would happily take Alvaro back, pay back his buyback clause. I do think Dorgu is a bit more attacking-minded and probably why Amorim prefers him. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Alvaro. Let me just grab my drink of water because I'm so thirsty. And then I want to get into the Casemiro news and some stories on Casemiro, his future, what it may hold, all of this kind of stuff. Is it just me or does anyone else get really thirsty in the morning? I'm always so once it's 1 o'clock I'm fine, but I always get so thirsty the first 4 hours I'm awake. So yeah, there's talk of Alvaro, but I just don't know if he's willing to walk into United. Laurie Whitwell said yesterday that United close to an agreement with Arsenal over the signing of Ayden Heaven for a modest fee due to a scholarship, terms expiring in the summer, although here we go for that story. But I want to talk about Garnacho, I want to talk about Maino, I want to talk about PSR, I then want to talk about Huijsen, and then I want to talk about Casemiro. Sam C. Reports, who works for the United Stand, who gets information, said, as of this morning, Chelsea and Man United have no agreement over the price of Alejandro Garnacho, who would be open for a move if it materialised. So he's saying Garnacho's open to the move. You can't really blame Garnacho. If he knows the club are trying to force him out, of course he's going to be open to moves elsewhere if he knows that the Ineos don't want him. Amorim wants Garnacho. Ineos probably are willing to sell him. Garnacho is happy at United. You can tell by the way he's playing. He's happy at United. He's happy to stay. But look, he's not against going to Chelsea when he knows that the club want him gone. You can't blame Garnacho for that. It was said that Garnacho is one of many wingers on Chelsea's wish list. They also like Kobbie Mainoo, but that's a difficult deal to do right now, and is more one for the summer if an opportunity arises. If Ineos sell both Garnacho and Mainoo, that's an absolute joke. Maybe selling one Garnacho, let's say in the summer, Amorim doesn't see him as a long-term fit for the system. We need the money. Somewhat understandable. But if you're selling Garnacho and Mainoo and Collier, it's not a good look for Ineos. It's not a good look as well. Yeah, who's going to go next? Probably Rashford or Casemiro. We're going to dive into that as well. But I want to talk a little bit about Huijsen. Because Man United have been linked to Huijsen and the Bournemouth defence. Bournemouth haven't lost since the two defenders, Huijsen and Sambrani, have played the first 10 games, played together 10 games ago. They've been unbelievable. Dean Huijsen has a release clause in his contract that's valid for the summer, and several top clubs are keeping a close eye on the situation. Chelsea are particularly keen at rating him highly and considering him a top talent. Now, Dean Huijsen has a release clause. No one knows the exact price of Dean Huijsen's release clause. Some people are saying it's in like the £40 million mark. I'm going to Google it. Huijsen release clause. See what they say on Google. No one's giving an exact price, but there was some sources saying around £40 million. But I don't think anyone knows for sure what the release clause is. But if Dean Huijsen's available for under £40 million, he's definitely a player United have to make a move for. I know we've got young raw centre-backs, but he's proven it in the Premier League. I want Man United to sign young players that have proven it in the Premier League, proven they can play in the league. And even if you have to pay that bit more, I think if you look at what Liverpool did in their rebuild, if you look at what Dan Ashworth's done at Newcastle and where they are now, Premier League proven talent that's young is definitely sometimes worth paying that little bit of extra money. Kerkez, Huijsen, all of that for me, yeah. Anyway, let's dive into the next story. Let's dive into other bits and bobs. But if Huijsen's got a release clause that's less than £40 million, I don't think he'll come to United. If he's got Real Madrid interested in him, Liverpool interested in him, I don't think he comes to United because for his development, it's a graveyard at the moment, sadly. But we have to go for it at least. We have to be in for it. So let's talk about Casemiro and the latest on that as well. So what's been said on Casemiro? Roma have asked for information about Casemiro. They're doing due diligence in the event that they need to find a replacement for Leonardo Paredes. So we've got interest from Saudi and Casemiro, MLS and Casemiro, and Roma and Casemiro. Considering Casemiro is not even getting off the bench or getting any minutes in or getting anything in, I think for me, he's clearly on the way out potentially if someone wants to buy him. I think Casemiro himself may be willing to take a wage cut to leave United to start playing football again. I think Amran not playing him at all is a message to Casemiro of go find a club you're not going to play, like la-di-la, and Ineos trying to get high wage players out. The problem with Casemiro is because of his wages, it's going to be near impossible to sell him and get him out the door. Saudi are still not sure. MLS is still not sure it's the wages. If Casemiro was on half the wages he was on, it would be so much easier to sell him. So look, Casemiro is not wanted. There's clubs interested in Casemiro, but whether anyone's willing to pay the wages, I don't know. Someone said fake news. What's fake news? We literally got Fabrizio Romano say, "Here we go, we've signed a centre back," which is Fabrizio Romano. We've got talk about Hojlund and teammates. We've got talk about Dorgu's next bid to be accepted. We've got talk about Dorgu, Alvaro, Ayden Heaven, Garnacho Mena, PSR, Huijsen, Sky Italy, I would say, is still semi-credible. I don't know what's fake today. We haven't read out any gutter tier sources today. So it could be one to keep an eye on as well. But last but not least, I want to talk about Laurie Whitwell's report. So Laurie Whitwell said yesterday that United said in private they would not pay more than £60 million for Anthony, and this was when we're in a mode of desperation. The United scouting reports from when he was 15 said he was too predictable. Those United scouts told United they shouldn't spend more than 25 million on Anthony. They got desperate and they said, you know what, we'll go to 65 million. United actually then ended up spending 85 million on Anthony, which was a joke. But in December 2022, we agreed personal terms with Cody Gakpo. We never made a bid. He ended up going to Liverpool. Liverpool willing to pay the money we weren't. Elise was available for 35 million in the summer. We spent 85 million on Anthony. Cody Gakpo wanted to come to United. Obviously, he played on the left. We had Rashford on the left. He was available for £30 million. We could have saved £50 million and we could have had either Elise or Gakpo. Elise would have been a better fit. Imagine where we'd be if we had Elise for 35 million instead of spending 85 million on Anthony. It's an imagine if, and stop this imagine if, and stop this imagine if, we do this with Casado, we do this with everyone. But the one thing I'll say with Ineos is there's been a lot of negativity around Ineos. I've got concerns. The ticket prices, the cost cutting, the money saving, using United to make money. But what I will say about Ineos is I'm glad Barada's on transfers. I'm glad Barada and Wilcox are on transfers because I trust them a lot more. I trust Barada and Wilcox a lot more than I trust Woodward and Arnold. Because Ten Hag gets a lot of blame for the 85 million on Anthony, but it was the people at the top that made the decision to spend 85 million on Anthony, not Ten Hag. Garte's been a good signing. Masraoui was a really good signing, but obviously, new system, he's not a wing back. But he was a good signing when you actually consider the context of the Ten Hag. I think De Ligt's been solid. For the price we paid, solid, done the job. Xerxes is the only new signing with question marks around it. And, right now he's offering more than Hojlund. When you look at the transfers we made just before Ineos came in, 72 million on Hojlund, 85 million on Anthony, 60 million on Mason Mount with 1 year left on his deal. It's not hard to be better than the people before, but the one positive I would give Ineos is I'm glad that Ineos is doing the business and not Murta and Arnold. And to think people called it Murta madness. John Murta madness. What do you mean? Spending 70 million on Casemiro and 85 million on Anthony in a panic buy. Crazy. That's the one thing as well. But listen, people, please do go ahead and hit that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Thank you for watching. Bye.